to Raccoon City. More like Raccoon Shitty.
No. You're not even like spoofing or referencing anything when you're doing the Welcome to Raccoon City.
It's kind of
like
the
Good Morning Vietnam.
Good Morning Vietnam, but it's just so far off.
That was about as good as the movie. So we just watched Welcome to Raccoon City, the Resident Evil reboot. I went in with the lowest expectations after seeing that CG dog, and
it met our expectations.
And it doesn't get any better than that. And what you see in the trailer is what you get. A rush story beginning to end, and it feels like it never takes off.
Yeah, I would say kind of one of the highlights that I was looking forward to was that they have a lot of the sets that look a lot like the game. They did a really good job of that, but I saw that all in the preview, and I was happy for you gamers from watching the preview, and then none of that was a surprise in the movie. So
and
it's
that's
like,
the amount of time you see those sets. What you see in the preview, that's as long as they spend there.
Yeah.
There's like one giant shot of the hall of the RPD. You never see it again. And it looks so bad. It looks like something I could make with Photoshop and Adobe Premiere on like the screen. I could put myself in the RPD, and that's as good as it looked in the movie. It was so bad.
Right. It did kind of look off like a video game. There was definitely like fan service, and they're trying with that to appease the fans, but it was not a surprise. There was nothing in it that you're like, oh wow, they did that, because it was all in the preview.
Yeah, I really think there was some compromises made to be so faithful to the series and like getting the sets made and everything, that they had to take other cuts where it's like a producer wants to push some woke agenda or something, so they're like, make these people brown and make the men dumb. So there was a compromise made. Someone really wanted to make a good movie, but then they couldn't get everything they wanted to get the R rating, so they got a really low budget, and so we get a stupid Leon. And he's not stupid because he's brown. He's stupid because the script called for it and he was miscast.
Yeah, poorly written and just a weird take on Leon.
You don't fuck with Leon. Leon's everyone's favorite. This is going to get a lot of hate. I imagine that it's going to be hated more than the Paul W.S. Anderson ones.
Yeah, well, there's another example of like, this is the first one that is kind of catering to the games, trying to match up the games with the sets. Like the Paul W.S. Anderson one went rogue, and that kind of worked for them. But this is the one that's starring the characters from the games, and it's using the sets from the games, but then they mess it up.
Yeah.
So much. Like, so then the mess ups are even worse. Like if they had just said, this isn't Leon, this is some random cop.
Yeah, that could have been any other cop playing Leon, and Leon could have been a good, fleshed out, competent character. You know, he is like Capcom or Resident Evil's Captain America. He's the Boy Scout. He wants to do the right thing. Not to get into spoilers, but this Leon in this movie, he complains and doesn't want and drags his feet.
Doesn't want to be there. Yeah. Doesn't know what he's doing.
Nepotism. He only got the job because of his dad.
Right.
He shouldn't have got the job, and he accidentally shot a guy in the butt.
Like kind of the only setup that they have for him is that he was late for work that day.
Yeah.
And it's his first day. But throughout the whole book, the whole second game, like he's competent. He knows what he's doing. Even though he was late, he's trained. Yeah,
he risks his life in the video game, not spoilers. He risks his life to save Ada.
Right.
And ends up getting shot, and he's always trying to do the right thing.
Yeah, he's just a good hero and knows what he's doing. And it's like they only knew he was late to work and took that and made that his character.
He's really one of the only few characters in the Resident Evil series that has a character. Like, you know, that's Leon.
Yeah, and this wasn't it.
We did not want someone that looked identical to the games but had no emotional connection.
Yeah, the director, what's his name, Johannes Roberts or whatever. I heard this is his first movie, but he's credited for doing, I don't know.
Nothing good.
Yeah,
he had a couple
47
sequels.
Meters Down, the sequel. Was that his first movie he directed? Maybe he should say the next film he directs is his first one. Start over again. Speaking of characters, the director defended his casting choices, saying they embodied the spirits of the characters from the video game. And that is bullshit. That's a complete lie.
That's what I'm thinking. Like, did he play just the beginning of the game to know Leon was late to work and just completely ran with that and built Leon's whole character off of that?
Like I said, there's someone in there that had a passion for putting all the Easter eggs and fan service in there. If it's not the director, who was it?
So you think the director's the one that was gunning for?
I think someone was
Resident
trying to
Evil.
do it right, and then producers got in the way, or the studio It's like, we need this agenda.
Someone messed it up.
So yeah, of course he's gonna lie and say they embody the spirits,
Right.
even if he doesn't believe it. So
how about the other leads? What do you think of like Claire?
she just exudes this cuntiness throughout the whole movie. She's
say
not
that word.
She's not a nice person. Treats everyone like, get out of my way, you idiot.
Yeah, she didn't do much. She didn't have much of a personality or character arc.
Yeah, and that's the way it is for everyone. There's no relationship building between anyone.
Is the relationships that really bothered me, because Claire has a great relationship with Chris. They're ideal siblings, caring for each other when they lost their parents, and they just completely lost that idea. Like,
Yeah.
they hate each other because they disagree about Birkin.
Chris is not Chris. Leon's not Leon. There's not really an argument that Claire's not Claire. She just was
attitude. Nothing. Yeah, she just didn't have the relationships that brought out the character of her.
Chris doesn't believe his sister like her entire life. He's just like, what are you doing here, Claire? No one liked you before. No one likes you now.
Yeah, he was kind of a little whiny, try hard, wanting to impress Birkin, I guess.
I would say my favorite character in the movie was Wesker. I don't think he was cast right to be Wesker, but
I thought he was great.
He seemed like the most believable, realistic person. And
yeah, he was really hot and played the part well. You can understand why Jill has a crush on him.
And that's
he was
some
like,
made up.
He was
shit
also
for
like
the movie.
believably evil. Like I could see him.
Spoilers.
Being
You
evil.
can't say he's evil.
Everyone knows Wesker's evil. When he came out in the diner and they called him Wesker, the girl behind me was like, "Oh, that's Wesker." Oh my gosh! Like everyone knows Wesker's evil. Like.
Albert Wesker is known in the games to be one of the key villains of the story.
For Jill, I wasn't disappointed. I think she was really pretty and she had really nice arms and she did well, but her whole character was being able to shoot.
I always go, if this really happened, how would I survive for Jill? It's guns.
So, yeah, we're getting into spoilers now. The movie opens up in the orphanage with a young baby Chris and baby Claire.
Claire sees Lisa Trevor.
And, it was with Lisa Trevor in the shadows in the orphanage. And it's doing this like shot, reverse shot, cutting back and forth between Claire and Lisa. And there's like this slow zoom going in.
It was very like Evil Dead.
Yeah, it was like classic horror vibes right there.
Right.
Some grindhouse shit. And
which I didn't dislike.
I was hooked immediately. And then, what are you saying?
I didn't dislike it, but it was out of place. So even at the beginning, I was like, oh, is this what the movie's going to be like?
That's
kind of weird.
I liked it, because it was so unconventional right there. I was like, oh, there's like some creativity to this movie. And then that's where it ended.
Because it didn't come back, I ended up disliking it.
It comes back once, I think. Oh, speaking of underdeveloped characters, Claire and Lisa Trevor become best friends and they keep in touch.
They keep in touch, yeah, for sure.
So where does the movie go from there? Next we cut to
the cheeseburger. The cheeseburger was a big fan service.
Oh, totally.
I've watched you play the start of that game numerous times when it came out, but so I recognized the cheeseburger. I was like, that's how I differentiate that game from the other games, is the cheeseburger.
That's fucked up. The cheeseburger got more respect than Jill's character, Leon's character.
They did really good job with the cheeseburger. They got the right one.
So, yeah, the movie opens up with Claire hitchhiking into Raccoon City. She's been in the online chat rooms, conspiracy theorists, and she has a videotape trying to expose Umbrella because there's been a leak. So she's trying to find her brother, Chris. Leon wakes up around... Is it nighttime that he wakes up?
I'm confused by that. I thought that was when he's going late to work, and then he went to the diner.
And then he goes to a bar diner.
He went to
like,
Emmy's.
Is he drinking more after being hungover, so he goes to work drinking?
He wakes up, takes a drink, and then he's at Emmy's drinking, passed out on the counter. And then next time we see him is at the RPD when everyone was called in because the city's being evacuated.
It made me laugh in theaters because I wrote a fake movie script. I wanted to make like the worst Resident Evil movie script that was just uncharacteristically just wrong across the board for all the characters. And in it, Jill wakes up super hungover, beer and shit all around her, and she finds an old piece of pizza and she doesn't even know how old it is. And she like sniffs it and then eats it. Claire does that in this movie.
Yeah, Claire does that at Chris's house. Yeah, it's really weird. She just took a bite. I guess she was hungry.
Yeah, and then puts it away. That's exactly what happens in my movie script.
Wow.
But there's more in my movie. Like then Jill finds a sandwich and eats
Right.
it and then throws it away. We don't need to get in that. But
Yeah.
in mine, there's a setup and payoff with my food gags.
The trucker scene with Claire starts to set up that the city is creepy, like because the zombie woman that they hit.
No, you're forgetting that men are bad and, all evil, and they're bad or stupid in this movie. And so the truck driver that we've loved for 25 years, he is like putting his
We
hands
love
on
him.
her.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, remember that? He puts his hands on her and then he hits someone in the road. Oh, that's the second horror scene with the like looking in the woods and back to Claire.
Oh, yeah.
And,
That was when I was like, okay, this is Evil Dead. Yeah, it really was like a horror movie at the beginning, and then it just wasn't.
It started out, there was some creativity going on, some creative freedom or something in the artistic style of it. And then it just goes nowhere. And then we get just bad CG after bad CG. Awful zombies that take so long to get going. Like Claire shows up and everyone's not a zombie and they're all just like cancer victims.
Yeah, just weird.
Whining and losing hair and stuff.
Claire and Chris's house.
Yeah. Claire shows the tape of Ben.
And Chris is like, no one believes your conspiracies. Why would I believe this weirdo?
Oh, and Claire is now the master of unlocking. And they let you know like 4 times in the beginning of the movie. They rob Jill of everything. Silent Hill sirens go off for some reason, and Chris just leaves Claire.
But yeah, then Claire's alone, and the creepy neighbors come.
Like the zombie just runs in and screams on her, and she leaves. She doesn't kill anything.
Yeah.
So this movie's based on Resident Evil 1 and 2, the remakes of 1 and 2. Both those games start with a fucking bang or something really scary or suspenseful. And this movie doesn't do that with either story. You don't have the zombie turning around till way late in the movie. And then you don't have Leon meeting Claire at Emmy's diner and their paths cross and they have to kill zombies together and get out. Yeah, if the movie had started on either of those, it would have made a huge difference. Because really nothing goes on.
Yeah, I mean, they set it up as a horror by having the orphanage with Lisa Trevor and then the zombie that the truck hits. And those are the 2 horror scenes that really get you like, oh, this is going to be a scary movie. But that's it. Then it's done.
Yeah.
Then it's character building.
No, there's no I guess you're right, but
introducing characters.
There's like glossing over characters.
it's just introduction, and then sirens go off, and the whole beginning is just so many character introductions because we've got Chris, Jill, Leon, Irons, Wesker, the diner lady, and then the Birkins. It's like it just goes on and on where it's hard to keep track of what happened when, because it just was like back and forth, and we have to go to the RPD. Oh, it's not even overrun yet. Like,
yeah, and so Leon shows up. We actually get to see him at his first day at work. The way Brian Irons was treating Leon in the office went on so much that it like broke me, and I started laughing at it. They just treat him like a piece of shit for no reason.
Yeah, it was.
They all hate him because of the nepotism or whatever. And why is he even working there?
They didn't really explain that.
Yeah,
they just hated him because the guys at the diner hated him. And it was like, okay, hashtag not my Leon.
Raccoon City is turning into a ghost town. All of Umbrella's moving out.
I liked the way they set it up. And we understand it's a real small town. Everyone's leaving. The pharmaceuticals run the town. Things
don't add up, like that truck driver driving around town. That's a town that would take 2 minutes to drive through at the speed that truck driver was driving.
Right.
Why is he doing laps?
He's infected. He didn't know where he was going anymore.
Oh, yeah. So he's infected because his dog licked the blood puddle and bit him.
After the trucker scene, they introduce all these people, and then 2 a.m.
And it's flying by. You're like, now the stars are going to the Spencer mansion because there was a murder. They fly a helicopter out there when it can't be that far away if there's like a little tunnel or
the tunnel
something.
That they walked in 2 minutes.
Yeah, why are they flying a helicopter? We find out Wesker gets a page on his pager, and he learns the city's going to blow up at 6 a.m.
So then the timestamps that we've already been seeing of 1 a.m., 1:10 a.m., 1:50 a.m., 2 a.m., now we know it's a countdown to 6 a.m.
Yeah. And that's something I feel that was borrowed from the S.T. Perry novel, is the Palm Pilot he gets from the page. We find out it was Ada paging him, and she gives him a Palm Pilot that has the answers to the puzzles in the mansion, which is only one puzzle.
Play these keys.
He doesn't even play the whole Moonlight Sonata. There's no excuse for not doing that. You know, Moonlight Sonata is not copywritten.
It's not like they're going to have the whole sheet music on the Palm Pilot that he has to play the whole
They could have
song.
done something fucking beautiful with that. Like, have the Moonlight Sonata going, and then we're seeing shots of other horrific stuff happening to the team members.
Yeah,
while this
absolutely.
haunting song is going.
It could have been cool. It's a cool song.
That would have been awesome.
Would have been good fan service.
Even just showing empty halls or dead corpses, just like get the atmosphere going for that mansion.
It immediately, like, whatever happened when he played Moonlight Sonata, it opened a tunnel.
Yeah.
And then Jill's looking out the window like, what is that? And I'm like, what did he do? And then it's just a helicopter crashing, and it's like...
A zombie snuck up on Brad when he's playing Snake on his little Nokia phone. He takes off because the zombie is biting him, but we never see that. And then it just so happens to crash land.
Yeah. And we could have had Moonlight Sonata going while the helicopter is being attacked.
Oh, yeah, that would have been awesome.
Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about. The horror's going on.
I know exactly what you mean. Like, that would have been cool.
Oh, so yeah, they go to the Spencer mansion to save just 2 members of Bravo team.
Yeah.
Did they ever say Bravo team? I know you said they did.
Yeah, they said it multiple times at the RPD.
So,
they said, we need to know what happened to our Bravo team. Go out and find them.
Enrico and Dooley, the only 2 members of Bravo team. They drove out there with the RPD truck. So it's not the Marine patrol vehicle that's flipped over from Resident Evil 0. It's just a RPD truck. And when we were talking about it, I was like, why is Enrico the one that dies from the first zombie, the turning around zombie, the iconic zombie that turns around? He's chewing on Enrico in the movie. Why is it Enrico in this scene?
Yeah.
And you're like, representation.
Yeah,
I was like,
it had to be personal killer.
That is less representation because Kenneth is supposed to be the one being chewed on there, and he's a black guy.
Jill is the only black representation. Everyone else
is she black though?
Yeah, we looked up. She's Nigerian, but she's from like Britain.
Yeah,
born and raised.
I don't think Enrico even gets a line in this movie.
No, he was just
they were both dead, right?
That was his line.
Oh, but that scene with the flipped over truck when they go to it and there's the crow. Best creature of the movie. I know they're like CG looking, but they actually look nasty compared to the crows in the previous movies. I like that they were so diseased and infected that they weren't a threat. They weren't like squawking and pecking people.
And Jill
they were,
shot
like,
it and they're like,
sickly.
dude, calm down.
Yeah.
Like,
really?
What?
Someone should confiscate that.
Wesker breaks up with Jill. He wanted to split up as soon as they got in the mansion for money, and he was going to leave them behind. That's pretty much the only emotional scene in the movie.
Yeah, it was the only connected humans. They were friends.
He seemed conflicted about leaving Jill. That's why I liked him the most.
Yeah, he and Jill are the only people who had like a real friendship and cared about each other, it seems like.
Chris didn't even care about his sister when he learned the town's going to be nuked at 6.
Yeah, and he's like,
not a thought.
He's not like, oh, I left my sister at my house.
And then as soon as she shows up, he's all upset about his motorcycle.
Well...
Yeah, so Wesker runs off into the tunnel, and then Jill goes off to find Chris. And what else is going on in the mansion? Chris got like quadruple teamed by zombies, and he managed to push them all off and not get bitten. And then
his lighter scene that went on for way too long.
That was bad. I could make that better just by cutting out a few of those
It was
flicks.
a decent idea, but it went on way too long. And it just wasn't realistic. It's like, throw your knife at him. He's right in front of you.
Why are zombies fucking with people? You know,
yeah.
The zombie has got one thing on its mind.
Right. Why did it not?
Quickest path to
like
you,
for
straight
a while,
line.
it was just coming closer, and then suddenly it's behind him. And it's like, what?
Remember in Pootie Tang when they're having that showdown and they keep ending up closer and closer every shot and then they pass each other? That's exactly what happened in this movie with the zombie. It ended up behind Chris.
So they then discover... Well, they found the tunnel. Jill says, let's go. This is probably the best way out.
Well, what happened to Richard?
He got eaten by zombies.
Yeah, he just got eaten by zombies on the staircase. And they show that in the trailer. I can show you guys that. Spoilers, he's going to die. He dies by the snake. And they talk about that. We forgot to mention that. There's no snake. There's playing Snake on the Nokia. And then Jill fantasizing about being murdered. Remember that from...
Yeah, fantasizing.
Return of the Living Dead. And she's like, do you ever fantasize?
about being killed.
And so, yeah, Jill's like, you ever fantasize about being eaten by a giant snake or a great white shark?
She just says, would you rather?
And they're like, you're fucked up, Jill.
Yeah.
She's a little crazy.
Jill is a little bit crazy.
What would the worst way to die be?
You're a freak, Valentine.
I was like, Jill is not a little crazy.
Yeah, she was-
Where are they coming up with this shit?
Weird. I don't know. Yeah, they didn't have the snake or creatures. The only thing they had was the alligator that I noticed in the orphanage.
Oh,
And I'm
yeah. I liked that. That's straight out of the Resident Evil 7. You got these little stuffed alligators,
Right.
toy alligators for like in the children's play area and floating around the swamp.
I just thought it was funny that they put an alligator in the movie. Like as
Yeah,
soon as
there's
I saw
Easter
it.
eggs all over.
Yeah, at the start of the movie, I saw it and I was like, "Oh, is that the only alligator we're going to see in this movie?"
Like the
And I was
ammo,
right.
the shotgun shells Claire grabs, those are like from Resident Evil 4 and 5. The branding of ammo, and even that ugly doll.
That thing was creepy.
Why there were so many shots just like
They're really making it a horror. I was like, they're really showing us the creepiest doll they could find
I'm
just
like,
to make
is
this
the
a horror movie.
G-Virus going to be hidden in that doll? That's the doll Sherry has to get the puzzle block out of in the remake, but they focus on it for way too much.
Because it was so creepy. It was like almost as creepy
In
as,
Resident
as
Evil 2,
Lisa
the
Trevor.
G-Virus is like hidden in her pendant, so I was thinking like maybe there's a stash of G-Virus and it was in that.
Right. So while everything's happening at the mansion, then this back at RPD, what's supposed to be Resident Evil 2 with
The
Leon
worst.
and Claire has become Leon, Claire, and Irons.
Leon gets put on reception front desk duty, and that leads to the absolute worst scene of the movie.
Right.
The truck driver finally wrecks and blows up his rig, and then he just walks his ass into the RPD. Full on CG flames, looks awful, and then they're doing the old
It's just a little crash.
that
song was
song's
playing?
Yeah, that's the worst.
Yeah, you hate that trope.
Yeah, every
If
time we see
someone
it.
wearing headphones and not noticing what's around them.
Yeah, worst looking part of the movie. It's the only action in the RPD. Did you know that?
Yeah, pretty much, yeah.
The zombies
parking
break in
lot.
and they run through the basement, but you don't see anything going on in the RPD. No liquors in the
Yeah.
RPD.
After that, after they put out the fire, he secures the building.
Yeah.
And then, they
And
break
it's
through later.
whining, complaining zombies outside.
Yeah.
As they secure the.
Let me in.
Yeah. Oh my God. That's where it was like Evil Dead. The second they turn into a zombie,
Their heads are huge.
are plastered with latex. Or
I
something.
liked the one shot of her pulling out her hair and then reaching through in the hair. That's the grossest thing. Nobody wants to see that. It was nice and creepy. Keep the movie creepy.
Yeah, so the zombies look bad, especially the burning zombie. The zombie dog was by far the most offensive thing in the movie. Just remove that from the movie. I wonder if it was a producer's afterthought like it was with Afterlife. There were no dogs in that movie, and the only notes they got back from the producer was, where's the
Where are the
cliffhanger
dogs?
ending and where are the dogs? And so then they CG'd all the dogs at the end of the movie. And I wonder if that's what happened here. It was like, oh, it's Resident Evil. You have to have the dogs.
At least the dog had a story. We followed it.
The dog is the worst CG I've ever seen since Mortal Kombat Annihilation with the bestiality ending.
He should have been a charred dog. So yeah, dog bad. Claire had to kill it. That was bad.
Oh yeah, Claire saving 2 men with a fire extinguisher, and these are officers.
Well, Leon wasn't there.
And then he showed up being stupid.
Yep. Put the weapon down.
He says drop the gun, and
Yeah.
she has a fire extinguisher.
Yeah,
and
she's like, I
"It's
don't have a gun."
Fire extinguisher, moron. And he's like, my name's Leon S. Kennedy. And she's like, what's the S for? Stupid.
That's not when that happens.
When the charred zombie came in and then Irons takes off and leaves, it's
Oh, yeah.
all one long running shot from the passenger seat perspective, looking onto him and then looking out the windshield and seeing the other survivors get
Yeah.
gunned down by the hunks. But yeah, his acting in that moment and all the gunfire and chaos, and it is all just one long running shot, and he barely makes it out of there. That was probably the most fun scene of the movie. That's the only scene I
enjoyed it.
Nothing else in this movie is fun.
In the first diner scene when we see those guys come in and be so mean to Leon and say like, Leon, stupid Kennedy. And I was like, what? It's Leon. Come on, be nice.
Everything
be nice.
in this movie is negative.
They come in and they're so mean to him. And I'm like, come on, be nice to Leon. But then as the movie goes on, I'm like, oh my God, they were right.
Yeah.
Like Leon's a little bitch.
Worthless. Now I'm thinking about it. I kind of really like it because I've never liked Leon or Leon's fanboys. And I'm just glad they're getting this.
I
Evil
only
4
just
ruined my
recently discovered Leon and then I love him.
Resident Evil 4 was the worst thing to happen to me before Obama.
Okay. Claire kills the dog, and then those three kind of team up together, which I don't like because it's supposed to be Leon and Claire. Why is Irons like with them a part of this? And nothing happens in the police station. He's like, I know a way out. Let's go through the tunnel. And it's like, they're not discovering anything. They're not exploring. They're not fighting zombies or anything. They just leave. We did have the part with Ben in the prison.
The only competent man in this movie.
That happens, right before they go, they just leave. It's like the only thing that happens in the RPD with Leon and Claire together. They find Ben.
That was just painful.
It was stupid. It was pretty worthless because we've heard Ben's perspective. We already know what he knows. He didn't really add any new info.
He came off smart enough that he wouldn't have let that zombie sneak up on him like that.
Right, exactly. That is where it turned and got annoying. Like,
that was Leon's most pathetic moment to shine.
Yeah. Give me a second here. Give me a second. It's like, okay, come on. Like, he could shoot the zombie.
There's no way they can make a Resident Evil 4 movie after this. Like, Leon, having survived that ordeal, is not going to get him picked up by the U.S. government and get him on Secret Service. They're like, oh, you survived Raccoon? No one even knows about Raccoon in this universe, and no one cares because there's a handful of people that died in a little town compared to 800,000 that died in the video games and other movies. Yeah, Leon surviving Mr. X and the G-Virus and knowing all that stuff, they actually uncovered and survived some real shit to where that's impressive.
This movie was missing like every discovery. That's what I'm saying. You don't learn anything about the G-Virus, T-Virus. There's no experimentation. There's no reason to fear a liquor. Like, we don't know what a liquor is. They never even talk about what Umbrella is. What's the casual viewer to do, like, if they've never seen any of these movies? Like, we're supposed to just go in assuming and already knowing. They don't explain Lisa Trevor why she's Leatherface, like she's wearing her mother's face. Oh, yeah. They definitely didn't say that. They had the part that showed her file that showed, she was an experiment and she's gone missing and she's extremely dangerous and they can't find her. Which is funny because she's right there. They can't find her,
but she never left. She just is.
Yeah, she's just in the shadows or something. And Claire finds her all the time. I'm fine without it like telling us anything. They made it work as a story, but it just bothers me that, they don't find the tunnels under the police office. Irons already knows about it.
Yeah.
They don't find the tunnel out of the mansion. Wesker already knows about it, knew how to get to it. He didn't discover anything. He just played the notes he was given. It's like there's no puzzle solving or clue finding of any kind. Like, everything was just given to them. Yeah. So their characters are not growing, not learning anything, not necessarily about like Umbrella or anything, but just like how to survive. Like, they literally like were given the path.
Especially with the liquor, they don't defeat it. Lisa Trevor shows up in time to save them.
First of all, I did have that as something I liked. Lisa Trevor killing a liquor with her bare hands.
Oh, I thought that was great too, because I was like, when are you ever going to see this? This is total fan fiction shit right here.
Yeah, it was bizarre, but it was fun. But even with that, it's not teaching the characters how to kill a liquor. They're not going to be able to do that the next time they see a liquor. So it's not.
There was
no
like rules established with the liquor.
Yeah.
Like, so we see what it can do, but then we never see one ever again. You don't know that was its tongue that sucked Irons up. I really enjoyed the shot of it walking through the hallway and you just see the light swinging and it's hiding. That was really good. But then it just passes Leon, who's just talking his way through that whole scene. And it should have killed him.
Making his jokes.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that was the other thing I didn't say yet, but this Leon actor I know from Victorious on Nickelodeon. That's what I know him from. And then I just felt like he was the same. He's doing Nickelodeon jokes, acting like a Nickelodeon star.
He couldn't even shave his face.
He just wasn't funny. It was just Nickelodeon humor. Like,
after this, I'm definitely not watching that.
right after the liquor is when Claire and Leon find the only discovery in the whole movie that helps you kind of know what Umbrella has been up to.
But it doesn't. It's like...
But it's the closest thing we got.
It's just a nod to Code Veronica with the Ashford twins. If you're an outsider knowing nothing, what the fuck does this mean? Some kids playing with the dragonfly with ants.
Yeah,
like,
I don't know
that's
what that
not
meant.
Umbrella experimenting on them. People don't know that those two kids are clones.
Yeah, I don't know that.
Didn't tell you that at all.
I don't know that.
Those kids
I don't
were
know what any of that meant.
manufactured. Like,
I got from the gist of it, they're experimenting on kids in this orphanage.
that's it.
You know, like they don't give that info, but it is the closest thing to discovering Umbrella in the movie.
The director said he just put that in there because he thought it was creepy.
And it was.
But it looked so bad. It looked like those kids were CG.
It was the part that felt most like the games of like you find all these papers you're supposed to read and put together, and you watch the projector. You know, that was very much like the games, which is what I'm saying. Like they don't find clues in the whole movie. That's the only time that it's like a clue.
I really wanted the hunks to kill William Birkin, and we don't get to see that. It's Wesker shoots William, but in the video game, they find tapes of the hunks' mission and getting slaughtered by William, who had transformed. That would have been awesome if they found that tape. And we get a flashback of William. Like, William should have already been a monster for like a month.
The next bit we get in the tunnels is when they find Birkin's lab. Wesker finds it first, and the Birkin family are all there. They're trying to get the G virus.
Annette is clueless to everything her husband's been doing.
That they just completely erased that family's background
Yeah.
and just made it, we need them here in this moment. They changed the Birkin story. Sherry wasn't on her own already.
Does Sherry even say anything in the movie?
No, she said she laughed. Like
that really embodied the spirit of Sherry Birkin's
or she said
character.
she had a nightmare, remember?
Oh, yeah, and Birkin is not helping that situation out.
Yeah. She's like, I saw a monster, and he's like, rah, and it's like, it's just
scare her.
foreshadowing that he's going to be the monster later. And then even Annette and William, their relationship was robbed because they had something going where she knew he was doing evil science stuff, and she was in the lab with him, helping him.
Yeah.
And she was so proud of his work and his discovery that she was the one that's going to save it so no one can get it.
That would have been a real strong female character that wasn't
A
forced.
real one, yeah.
That wasn't forced.
And she's also a mom who loves her daughter. Like, that's what I love, the dichotomies, is when the strong female character is a good mom and a strong female character. And they can only choose one or the other in any movie like that. Yeah, so the whole Birkin family was a big letdown, with Sherry being my favorite character from the second.
She doesn't get infected. She doesn't do anything in this.
She doesn't get a hide from the monster.
She doesn't get to build a relationship with Claire.
Yes.
At all.
At all. They 100% took that because she's close with Chris at the end of the movie, which makes sense for the backstory that they set up in the movie. Chris is like family. We didn't even discuss
that Chris is like
Birkin's son.
Yeah,
he's like Birkin's like a father to me. Yeah.
He waxes his chest for Birkin. It's fucked up. And he's his biggest defender.
So the whole fight over the G virus happens in that lab tunnel, and that's where everyone comes together.
I was confused. Did Sherry shoot someone?
No, because...
So Jill walks in and shoots Wesker, but I thought Sherry picked up the gun.
Because Sherry picks up the gun, holds it up to Wesker, and then the shot happens, and Sherry's like, looks at the gun like, did I do that? Like, it was really cute, actually. I thought that was good acting on her part. And Wesker is like, looks like, what? And then he's like, it's behind me, and he turns and there's Jill.
That's the extent of the Nest lab, is a dark ass tunnel and a little room with one zombie on a table.
Yeah.
We still have never seen an on-screen live action hunter or a tyrant. We haven't seen like creatures in capsules. And how hard is that to do? It'd be so easy to CG a still creature, right? Like, it just has to be floating in a fucking tube. There was no Mr. X in the movie. Like, as bad as the CG was, I think all the CG budget went into Birkin in his half-human form, which wasn't the worst.
That's what I was going to say. Birkin's first mutation was my favorite creature of the film.
Yeah, but he doesn't need to be monologuing.
No, he went on too much of like, oh, Chris, you were such a good little follower doing everything I say. And it was like, come on, just, I don't know, stick to the story. Don't do this.
That's why we needed the hunk team that gets killed by Birkin. We didn't see Birkin in action slaughtering people. He's got this massive claw hand that should be impaling people and gutting and slicing.
Yeah.
He doesn't do any of that.
No, it's not a big fight with him.
There's no reward. Like, it's so bad. Leon just shows up and has a bazooka. Not a bazooka, a rocket launcher, and blows Birkin away, and it's over. It's over before it began. I honestly don't believe Leon would have fired that rocket launcher correctly. He would have shot it behind himself, killing everyone. And they show that shit in the trailer.
What's up with trailers spoiling everything nowadays?
Yeah, you want to show Lisa Trevor in the trailer? Don't show her shushing or teaming up with Leon and Claire.
This is a problem with trailers in America lately.
So, Chris loses his fight to Birkin and gets
Claire
saved.
has to save the day.
Yep. I did like his little eyes.
Yeah. Birkin, I liked the first mutated Birkin.
So they get on this train and they barely make it out the explosion.
It doesn't make any sense that the whole tunnel collapses behind them.
I think it was to save on budget that they don't have to have a rocking, moving train when Birkin fights them.
Okay.
Wonder if that made it easier on CG to not have a rumbling train and then have to pixel lock Birkin's animation on that or something.
It just bothered me that the whole tunnel collapses behind them, but the rest of the tunnel is fine. They could just walk out. And also somehow Wesker gets out of the tunnel that just collapsed. My absolute favorite part of the whole movie, Raccoon City is exploding, and the cow, they filmed a cow for so long. I was like, why are we watching a cow? And then it just
really long.
It went on for so long that I was like, I love it. What is this? And then he flies away, the worst CG ever.
It was on par with that cow really flying funny. By in Twister.
Yeah. Yes. Same vibes. Absolutely. And I loved it. It was very entertaining. So then the whole city is blown up.
Yeah, so the train took them to the other side of a mountain that protected them, and I don't know if it's a nuclear explosion, but the entire town is leveled, just dropped into a pit. There's no actual explosion. Oh, I don't know why they did that, because it's not like anything else in the movie looked good. So if they had a nuke and it looked shitty, who cares?
And then we have our 5 survivors walking out of the tunnel. Don't worry.
Yeah.
All the leads are still alive.
Really nothing makes them special because they didn't really overcome anything. Any one of us could have walked through that movie.
And then the stinger.
Yeah, so spoiler, the stinger in the mid-credits. I don't know if there was a post-credits scene, but the very opening shot of the Resident Evil remake has a body bag on a table that starts wiggling and then sits up. Well, this does exactly that, but Wesker's in the body bag.
And he wiggles for so long.
Then
for an hour.
Then Ada shows up, but we don't see her at first, and she speaks, and as soon as she opens her mouth, the entire theater groaned and laughed.
Because she says, I'm Ada Wong.
I don't remember what she says. Some
she
line,
said,
and it was so
it's nice to meet you.
Heavily accented Chinese accent or something, and then before people could even see her, they were like cringing or groaning.
No, they groaned once she said, I'm Ada Wong.
No, it was her voice. It was her voice. And I was like, wow, this theater's racist.
Everyone groaned once she said, I'm Ada Wong.
So Wesker gets his shades because he has cat eyes now, and he needs shades even in the dark. It's from the shot or whatever they gave him, and that brought him back to life. So now he's like a meta-human or something.
Yeah, nothing was very well explained, because I came out of that thinking I knew things, and then you giving me way more backstory on everything. I thought, okay, something happened to his head, he needs glasses, he's like hungover or something. And then you're like, oh, he has cat eyes, and it's like, oh, well, they didn't say that. The other thing I liked when it comes to setting up Raccoon City, like I said, I like that everyone's moving out because Umbrella's leaving, and I liked the waitress with the bloody eye, just the way that she was like, whatever, And then just because they're showing us slowly, like, Claire's right, like, there's something going on here. I liked that. And I liked the way they set up Raccoon City, as everyone's
I just wish it had zombies. There were zombies at the mansion, but there were no zombies in the city. They're all just talking, and whining and losing hair.
Yeah.
and opening doors, like breaking. Yeah, if they're smart enough to talk, why can't they open the latch?
I mean, she knew she could write itchy scratchy on the window, but she didn't know how to open a door.
Like, when that happens in the video game, but there's 2 different strains of the T virus at that time. In the first one, it takes like a month to 2 months to turn into a zombie. So they are losing their humanity, and they find themselves eating dog food and then eating friends. In Resident Evil 2, the infection's a lot faster, and that's why there's lickers. There's a mutation within that strain of the T virus that causes lickers. You've combined these 2 movies that have different infection rates, and that really like ruin the Resident Evil 2 part of the movie, where it's like, I want zombies now.
Yeah.
Stop
Speaking
slowly
of,
turning.
And they didn't go to the sewers at all in this. Like, they just walked through a tunnel.
No hunter. That's the biggest. No hunter and no tyrant.
Those are in the first one.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was disappointed in the sewers not being connected at all. The whole underground lab was just not how I expected it. You know, one little room under the whole city.
And then
it's
they
one
called
little
it,
room.
And in the text ending of the movie, they say Nest 2 has been destroyed or whatever. And it's like, that was not the Nest.
Right.
Wow. There are things Paul W.S. Anderson did better, and he showed he's a better
his underground
filmmaker.
lab was good.
There's like an actual lab. They set up the umbrella is this corporation that does experiments, where this one didn't. This looks like one rogue scientist has a basement attached to an orphanage.
They didn't have the laser hall.
Oh, no laser hall, no red dress. What else are we missing?
Red Queen.
Oh, Marilyn Manson music.
So the other thing that I didn't like, the Leon-Claire relationship didn't get built at all. They had no reason to trust or like each other.
Yeah, no relationships.
So Claire had no relationship with anyone, which is annoying. But then Leon also was supposed to find Ada and get a relationship with her, and like they're about to kiss and stuff. That could have been a nice, like, will they, won't they? You know, keep the women in the audience into it. Come on.
Think of this. That Leon and that Ada are going to have no chemistry together.
Yeah, I would like to see it.
It'll never be believable.
It was a nice interracial couple I wanted to see.
So, on a scale from Resident Evil 1 to Resident Evil Final Chapter, what would you rate this movie?
Oh, the Paul W.S. Anderson movies?
1 through 6.
I haven't
6
watched...
being the worst, 1 being the best.
Yeah, the first one is definitely my favorite, but I never thought any of them were any good at all, and so I actually think this is better.
No, this made me appreciate the Paul W.S. Anderson ones more. Like, in its little things, just lighting and coloring, some exposition done a little better. There's really nothing cinematic in this new movie where Paul W.S. Anderson is not good in any way, but there are some stylistic choices, and there's definitely a difference between, you know, a filmmaker with 20 years, 30 years experience versus the second time filmmaker.
I think that in 20 years, you're going to have a really, really different opinion about this movie.
Oh, yeah, because everything's just downhill. Everything keeps getting worse and worse.
It's impossible to compare it to a movie that has been a nostalgic experience for you now for 20 years.
I've always hated those movies.
Yeah, you don't like the Paul W.S. Anderson movies, and you're always making fun of them. But now that this one came out,
I like them as much as I like
obsessed.
Fast and the Furious.
Yeah, and this is when you're saying no filmmaking, no cinematography. It's like they had the cool scenes that you liked. There were good parts.
Yeah, I don't know.
It was
You're
unique.
right. Like,
it was very different. It's hard to compare it.
I changed my mind too. So yeah, in 20 years,
I'm
it's gonna be a
standing
classic.
by. I put a reminder in my phone for 20 years from now to rub it in your face that you like this movie. The only thing that I liked better in Paul W.S. Anderson was the laser hall, but that is purely for comedy reasons.
Where do I rank it on a scale of
1 to
Resident Evil to Final Chapter? Final Chapter being the worst and 1 being the best. No, that's not even true. I think Resident Evil Extinction is the best Resident Evil movie.
There's actually a problem with your scale because you
Writing-
don't rate them in order.
Yeah, writing and filmmaking wise, that one is the best, even though it's like the worst premise. Like, that is not Resident Evil at all. I'm thinking it is under Extinction and Retribution, and that's bad.
Just letting you know, this scale means nothing to me.
There are 2 Alice movies that are better than this one.
Check back in a couple years. We'll see.
Let this be a lesson to all studios and filmmakers out there. Do not give the fans what they want. Do not give them fan service at all.
You go all in or all out, because this was a bad half and half that's going to leave no one happy.
Don't blend video games together. Give us one story.
It really could have been just
if
one.
If you feel there's not enough out of the one story of the first game. It could have been
just two. Like they could start with two and then do a prequel. It doesn't...
Exactly. Claire could have been looking for her brother. We don't need to know anything that went on with him.
It could have been a nice stinger at the end. If that
movie was a success, then it's like, oh, this is what Chris was up to.
All in or all out.
I hope they keep going with these movies, but they do what they did with G.I. Joe and just remove the bad characters, bring in The Rock, and have a better movie.
The Rock as Leon.
Oh, they casted this brown Leon so they won't be called racist when they're killing all the Mexicans at the border.
Right.
In Resident Evil 4.
It's a theory.
Yeah.
And with that, I think we're done. Don't worry. We won't stop talking about this. At least one of us won't.
Okay, that's it. We didn't like the movie.
I didn't hate it.
I will watch it again after I pirate it. So if any sponsors out there want to sponsor my channel, I'll push NordVPN or whatever VPN.
Honey?
No, VPNs because I'm
VPN.
pro pirating.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a good thing to just put out there.
That's it. That was our Welcome to Raccoon City review, which should have been Escape from Raccoon City. Like, what?
We're welcome
come
to
again.
then...
We can't come again. It blew up and it happened so fast.
Welcome to Raccoon City. Please get out within the next few hours. Good luck. Bye.
If you like this video, please leave a like, comment, subscriber. If you want to support the channel, check out our Patreon page, Mr. T Virus. Become a member of the R-Retards. Get access to exclusive content. Join our Discord and get shout-outs on the video. Thank you, Kyle, Kiera, Marco, E13, and Julia for supporting the channel. And follow us on Twitch. We'll be streaming board games and video games pretty much every Friday. Dead by Donovan on Twitch. You want to plug any channels?
Follow me, not Julia Smith, on everything.
Nice.
Links in the description.